So on today's video I thought I'd talk to you all about Pocket Genius. So, Pocket Genius from Minneapolis, how did that one all come about? Well, in sort of like what seems to be happening, but by the summer of 2000, lots of bands were starting to contact me directly rather than me go out and look for bands. And Pocket Genius was one of those. And the reason they contacted me was that the drummer Jason Knudsen had obviously been in the Porcelain Boys. And obviously I'd by this point helped re-release and sort of co-release Away a While by the Porcelain Boys with Pop Kid and done the Jettison CD. So in the summer of 2000, I think it was Corey from the band actually emailed me to say, oh hi, we're Pocket Genius, Jason who was in the Porcelain Boys is our drummer, we've just recorded some demo songs, can I send them to you? To which I obviously said yes. And it came through and it was cracking, it was brilliant, and I really liked it, and I think it all came about really quite quickly, because I think I was at the time I was sort of compiling the first Boss Tuneage label sampler, and I said, well, would you like to release this demo like on CD and I'll put it out, and we can include like one track on the cheap price label sampler that we're doing, and they said yes. And by this point, so that must have been sort of August, September time, I'd already decided that I wanted to try and find a cheaper way to package CDs for shipping out to like America and Japan. Because in Japan, you know, people like jewel cases, but they actually preferred like card wallets, sort of space-saving, you know, formats. And I was going through and trying to work out, right, what's the sort of, you know, to keep prices down, what's the sort of cheapest way I can make physical CDs? And I came across the cheapest way to do them would be a CD in a card wallet. On later ones we would start putting in a booklet as well, but this was actually, I think, the first release we did in this kind of format, and we'd do a lot of these over the next 2 or 3 years. It meant that we could keep the price down, it didn't cost as much to ship, you know. I can't remember what we sold this for. I think we sold this for like £2 postpaid or £3 or something like that. It wasn't mammoth amounts of money, so it was almost like you could put CD albums out for the price of a single. And also sending them over to Japan, you know, you could send like 80 of these, I think, from memory, in a 2 kilo small packet envelope, you know, and you weren't having to get involved with like sort of mammoth shipping costs. So this seemed like a logical thing for the way I was doing it, you know, cheaper to send out as promos, easy for people to pick up at gigs and put in their pocket, you know. It just seemed like that seems like a good format to do. So yeah, so it came about fairly quickly, and I think we put it out sort of in the winter of 2000, maybe very, very early 2001.
Shit you could break down.
Yeah, and it got great reviews from what I can remember. I can't remember sort of any bad reviews or anything like that. It sold okay, but it didn't sort of set the world on fire. And I think this is something that I could probably say with Pocket Geniuses. I think they're an incredibly overlooked band on the label. Because we obviously immediately I wanted to do like another CD with them, you know, because this had been the demo and they were writing new songs, they were playing gigs, etc, etc. And so that's how I think then in 2001, in the winter of 2001, they went in and recorded Tundra Rock. Now, I think Tundra Rock in the Inksplat logo years is our forgotten gem. I'm really honest. I never hear it mentioned very often, but actually it is a brilliant little CD. And I think, you know, for whatever reason, it was just overlooked a bit, and I can't really understand it. So the Pocket Genius lineup was Corey Dokin on vocals and guitar, Colin Murphy on vocals and guitar, Jason Knudsen on vocals and drums, and Andy Martinson on bass. And that was the lineup that recorded both the same title CD, which was in effect the demo, and also the follow-up, Tundra Rock. And like I say, that was, they were always, put on our label samplers, and and I remember a few people, from other bands saying to me, "I tell you what's a great little CD is that Pocket Genius CD." I remember Russell from Scarpa saying to me, "That was the best one of the lot you sent us through that last month." But yet, for whatever reason, it just didn't really sort of kick on to the next level, and I'm still sort of mystified now, really. So, if you're not familiar with Pocket Genius, I recommend you check them out. So when in 2004 I kind of decided I was hanging up the things, I think it sort of tied in with the band sort of going into sort of like, frozen cryogenic suspension as well. And then out of the blue, in about 2010, I get an email from Corey to say, "We've recorded another album, would you like to put it out?" And I, of course, immediately said yes. And by that time, Jason had left and Andy had left, and they'd been replaced by Jeremy Burgo on bass, who obviously had a stint in Samiam as well, and David Jarnstrom on drums. And it was that lineup that recorded Nordic.
Smell my dreams, worrying in the room.
And yet again, I remember Nordic got great reviews, but it still didn't, for whatever reason, seem to spark with people to buy it. And I was starting to get a bit mystified as to why Pocket Genius weren't being talked about in the same way. Yet, as I say, I remember with Nordic, I remember bands coming up to me and saying, that's a brilliant album, and so I think they were very much like a band's band in some ways. And it's an odd one. It's a really odd one, and it shows you that, I don't know it all. I don't, who knows what goes on in people's minds as to which bands they like and which bands are going to sell. There's always still a bit of risk every time you put out a CD as to what's going to happen. The band did do a further record called Taverner, which I think that we offered to do digitally, because by that time CDs now, it's just such a hard sell unless it's an established band to actually do a separate standalone CD release, because everything has gone more and more towards vinyl, and I was overcommitted at the time with releases when that came through. But also obviously Jeremy and David, who joined in Nordic, also are in a band called Rad Owl, with Jeremy Jessen, who was obviously in The Tank, who'll be on another video as well. And Rad Owl, I'll speak about them as well. So they're all still active, and it wouldn't surprise me in the least that Corey, when I'm least expecting it, sends me another email to say we've recorded another album. But yeah, Pocket Genius, I think criminally underrated on the label, and also carrying on the tradition of bands on the label recommending me to other bands. I have Pocket Genius to thank after they played a gig with the Pavers to recommend to Scott Reynolds that he contacted me as well, and that's another reason to love Pocket Genius. And I really strongly suggest, if you're not familiar with them, go and check their stuff out. That's it for this one. I'll see you on the next one.